Jane and I are going to share this presentation, so I'll do the first part, and then Jane the second. How does one change the slides? Just click mouse.
Or maybe the arrow key.
Or the arrow key.
On the keyboard.
Okay. There we go. Just explain what we were asked to do by Curtin University. About 2 years ago, we got involved with Building 201. You may recall that a portion of the ceiling collapsed in that central void area. And essentially we were asked to repair that by upgrading that entire ceiling space through the void and do a bit of work on the roof. From that, we were then asked to complete an audit. Actually, I think we may have already started the audit with regards to the building services, being that, as you probably well know, they're kind of at the end of their life and the building's in significant need of upgrading. So that proposal was put forward and mainly just dealt with servicing issues, not much architecture. And then more recently, I think towards the beginning, at the end of last year, towards the beginning of this year, we were asked to pick things up, revisit that audit, and to make a proposal with regards to the building's upgrade that was more aligned not only with the requirements for servicing and compliance, but to make a proposal for the upgrade of the building itself. Now, I have to add that this is not the solution that will go forward into construction. This is simply an exercise with regards to aligning the university's strategic objectives with I guess, the future upgrade of buildings, particularly Building 201. So I've been told to make sure that you guys are all aware that this project is probably highly unlikely to proceed, but it's, I guess, an exercise in providing something to the university and what the options and potentials are with regards to Building 201. So I'm going to explain a bit of the context and vision and various statistics that informed our process in terms of developing a brief. We're yet to go through significant stakeholder consultation, which, if this project was to go ahead, that would be kind of the next step. And Jane will talk about basically the design. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. It's the existing building, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Now, I think it was already mentioned that Jane and I both graduated from here, spent a lot of time in Building 201, and a significant portion of our office has also spent time here. So we've got some affinity with the building. I think we like it. Probably over time, our attraction to it has somewhat diminished, but it may be a bit of a case of Stockholm syndrome, and you spend a lot of time in a building, you might begin to appreciate more than what it deserves. But there are a number of benefits or positives, I think, about Building 201. It's obviously a unique building, not only for the Curtin campus, which there are obviously a number of kind of these types of buildings, but in terms of the West Australian, I think, landscape, architectural landscape, it's fairly unique. In relation to Curtin, it's one of the largest buildings on the campus, and obviously we've got, it's over 100 metres long and 7 stories high, etc. And it actually consists of about 7% of the floor area in the entire campus. So it is quite a prominent building and an important building for the campus, etc. So the other thing, I guess, is that it seems to be that it's a fit-for-purpose building. Other buildings around the campus probably would find it difficult, or would be difficult to adapt to kind of a design type course that requires not only lectures but sitting around in studios and discussing things. Other buildings which are more enclosed would be difficult to achieve that, and I believe that the original intent of Building 201 was to create that sort of atmosphere, open corridors, etc. The negatives, well, it's outdated. It has significant compliance and maintenance issues, occupational health and safety issues. The interior is pretty poor quality. It's cluttered. It's pretty unattractive in areas, and doesn't necessarily meet the standards of contemporary kind of architecture slash university spaces. The existing floor plans, as you can see, are again very cluttered, filled with kind of multi-cell, small rooms, apart from that central corridor, which thankfully still remains largely intact. It's no longer, I think, representative of the original design intent, which was open for a number of reasons, for air movement, for light, etc. Now, over time, over 40 years, those spaces have been slowly kind of infilled, not only in plan but also in section. So, existing conditions, well, this is the interiors studio on level 1. It's pretty poor, and strangely, it's very difficult to hear yourself in there. That central kind of air conditioning duct's quite loud. And again, that central void, while everybody is quite attracted to it, it is cluttered. It's difficult to hear yourself talk in those groups, and attending kind of end-of-year exhibitions is just not very pleasant to be in. But it doesn't mean we can get rid of it. Seminar rooms and classrooms, well, again, they could do with a bit of upgrading to meet contemporary standards. And I'm sure you're very familiar with these spaces, but they're essentially kind of cluttered and a bit nasty these days. We're level 6, where most of the staff offices are. Long corridors, tiny rooms. Not really representative of the way the architects work in terms of open plan. Officers being able to communicate and easily talk to each other, which I think would be helpful in some way to achieve, even for the staff. And they're not welcoming spaces, obviously. Okay, so our assignment really was to put forward a proposal that aligned itself with Curtin's strategic objectives. Essentially, if there's any chance of getting funding for the building upgrade, Curtin Properties need to be able to present this to the executive in a way that is fundamentally aligned with where the university wants to be in 20 years. So I'll just quickly explain these objectives, and then Jane will talk about them in far more detail later. But so category 1, or number 1, was to align the upgrade of the building with the Curtin master plan. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the master plan, but it involves a whole lot of kind of upgrading not only to the existing buildings, but new buildings in kind of that big grass area. And it's something that we actually had some involvement with a couple of years ago, whenever it was completed. So we're quite familiar with the proposal. It involved light rail and all sorts of things. And so we're to consider the upgrade in, I guess, as in relation to that. There's also a place activation plan that was produced a couple of years ago, which determined kind of nodes and hubs throughout the campus, cores of activity, etc. And there was the central corso, which runs to the east past Building 201, which is supposed to be kind of a lively central kind of corridor through the campus. And essentially building 201 just has one kind of small door facing that. So that was a significant issue with regards to any upgrade along, when that occurs, how that would address, or how building 201 would address that. Number 2 objective was to upgrade the building to meet the curtains transforming teaching and learning kind of objectives. And I think there's been a big push towards that I can see in terms of upgrading various rooms, some of them very heavily loaded with AV and all sorts of equipment. That doesn't necessarily mean that would all get put into building 201, but there would be rooms of certain sizes and certain flexibility that would be able to, that would be in alignment with that objective. The others, industry engagement and enhanced research. Again, areas in which the university is pushing towards in order to enhance its credibility. So how would you, create a space that would enable people from various industries, not only architecture, to come and present? Clearly they're all booked out in building 201 today, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But also research. How is research conducted within the building? What are the best opportunities for it? Where can it be located? From what we know, most of the BIM labs are kind of locked away in level 2 and not necessarily integrated with the building as a whole and with any relation to the students. Workplace, we saw the slides of kind of long corridors. So how would we house the staff in a more contemporary way? And 4th was the heritage of the project. As we mentioned, we've all got some affinity with it, and we've got significant respect for the building. So how do we go about making modifications to the building without kind of destroying its appeal? How do we introduce various sustainable measures? How do we improve things like air conditioning, which doesn't really work appropriately without necessarily increasing energy loads, etc. And then there's the servicing and compliance issues, which are quite significant and need upgrading. And finally, a message from the Chancellor, which was a building that was bold and future focused and innovative. We embarked on a bit of a tour. We didn't necessarily go here, but we wanted to see, particularly in Australia, what other universities were doing in their architecture schools. We went to RMIT and to Uni South Australia and had a look at their facilities. And these are some other examples of a more recent university, like Bond University. Obviously, we included this image because it's got that kind of central kind of void of openness to it, which, although it's significantly different in appearance, there's some similarities in how you connect those spaces, essentially. Another building proposed for the University of Melbourne, again, kind of these lively spaces, open, etc. And Manchester School of Art. This is just a quick snippet of what our vision is. And Jane will explain this in greater detail, and how we came to this. But again, we're trying to open up the building. So this involves reconfiguring the north entry, basically facing the lawn, excavating down, infilling under that canopy, and creating a large kind of pin-up space, diverting some of that function away from the blue carpet level. And that there is a proposed upgrade, and we'll explain how we got to that shortly, for the south elevation. That large cantilever being a kind of a student hub, kind of resource centre. It's just a bit of a graphic, the yellow being what we're proposing, the grey being existing. So currently, when we look at some of the statistics, 59% of the floor area of the building is usable. There's a large portion of the floor area which isn't. And then we've divided it up into workplace, informal learning, or activation, and the teaching areas, which is obviously the larger portion of the building. Our transformation would slightly reconfigure that. We would increase the floor area by 15%, but gain 80% in terms of usable space, and slightly add to the teaching area, but mainly the informal kind of activation areas would increase significantly too. So these are the areas in which students could meet with staff, meet with each other, maybe the introduction of some retail, commercial spaces, cafe, or something to that effect. So as I mentioned, not a significant increase in terms of staff numbers, but if we change the configuration and move to an open plan office, it doesn't necessarily increase space, increase the area, or the number of staff that you can fit into one area, but it moves them from kind of closed cells into an open area. It moves staff who seem to be scattered over various levels all onto one level, so we continue to use level 6 as kind of the staff area. But it would seem that there's some benefit to have all staff located on one area or in one floor where hopefully they can collaborate with each other just as the students can do the same. And a significant increase in terms of research places. Obviously it's a significant push in that direction, and for the university to become a prominent university within Southeast Asia. I think by a certain period they want to achieve the top 20 or whatever in Southeast Asia. So research is seen as the key to get there. So increasing those sorts of places, a significant increase in terms of informal learning areas, and then a little increase in terms of teaching and learning capacity. Our outcomes were increasing floor area, but only our compliance and upgrading services, etc. Covered most of these, but one of the other thing was the point under clarity is to achieve a clear kind of spatial layout, move away from those enclosed cells and open up the building to achieve what it was originally intended to. Improve quality of facilities, obviously, research positions as I've talked about, greater activation, particularly those at ground level, at levels 3 and 2, and to kind of reimagine an identity for the school of built environment. So how could the school kind of sell itself as a university, or as a course that is attractive to future students, that can attract the best staff, etc. That's just another image, and how we get to these.
So if we take the first objective, the master plan and place activation, Curtin are calling for an active precinct. They want to blend education, business and community. They actually call for cutting edge buildings and public spaces, and a big call for activation to the public realm. If we look at the campus when Building 201 opened in 1970, the campus is vastly different to where we are at the moment. The Building 201 is 1 one of only a few buildings sitting on a hill, really in a pine forest. The car park is directly in front of Building 201, and then there's the beginning of the green spine ceremonial space running east-west from the library or theatre complex. So really, this is a campus placed in the 1960s suburb. If we look at the building kind of now, and if this proposal went ahead at completion, we're now in a campus where the building is buried amongst other buildings. The way that you use the building 201 has changed a lot. You can see the arrows that we've indicated where people mainly enter the building now. So you're coming from car parks south of the building, and there's the lecture theatres also south of the building. There's also a strong link of Corso, which is the pedestrian link in the master plan, and so a lot of people use that very small door near the design building. Applying the master plan graphics, you can see where this is sitting in current thinking with the master plan. So the Corso being the pedestrian link is an important part of that. This Main Street is really the kind of transport hub, and that will drop you again at the car park south west of the building, and then there's more pedestrian links there. So we've kind of moved in those years to a more urban setting. If we look 20 years from now, this is the vision where the campus is really located in the city. Again, looking at the more master plan moves, you can see that Building 201 holds quite a prominent space there on the green spine. It's clearly linked right in with the Corso to the east and the pedestrian link to the south. This is an image from the master plan, greater city master plan. Donaldson+Warn were involved in that. This is, you probably recognise the building. This is a view of what Main Street would be like. You can see the kind of tram line down there. I guess following that lead of where Curtin are looking to be in 20 years, we see the south side of the building as being an important entry point, and we've created, suggested a prominent entry there and an urban plaza. So that would link in with the south pedestrian links and the bridging over to the existing lecture theatres. I guess now flipping back to the original concept when the building was designed in the 60s and opened in the 70s, the main feature of this building, its most distinctive feature, is clearly the central corridor, the voided corridor. The concrete and brick aesthetic of the building, it's not about decoration, it's about honesty, directness, and it, at that time, if you think back to that 1970s plan, all those buildings were designed as individual buildings, so it's relatively internalised and kind of isolated in its outlook. Our conceptual framework to how we started thinking about it in terms of design was that we were going to maintain that east-west void and corridor, but the building needed to open itself up to the campus that it's now to emphasise that central northwest would be work with the objectives there. So we've got now just highlighting where we're playing into activating the building more. So you can see that view to the Pinup Gallery and the main entrance and the terrace to the south. What we're calling Student Central, which is pretty much in the space where the existing lecture theatres are, which would be a large informal learning area. And then to the east, opening up there, we have like a cafe, there's a multi-purpose space which could open directly onto that also. And we might be able to introduce a little bit of retail at the corner, going on the front of the building to activate against that green sign. An image of what that could look like at the cafe at the back, also opening it up. And then again, just another look in that pin-up space. The idea being that this would supplement the current blue carpet level. There's obviously some issues when you're doing a crit in that space with acoustics and people walking in front of you and you're talking. So a dedicated space where you could also have pin-ups is provided, and you can see that bridge which you're actually kind of walking through that space. So it's a lot about opening it up. This is the Urban Plaza South entry. Moving on to the teaching and learning objective, industry engagement and interactive research. The Curtin's objective for transforming learning involves interactive, personalised, collaborative learning. Spaces are flexible and there's a lot of A/B, sometimes connecting remotely, supporting their online teaching. There's also a big push for the industry engagement, community engagement, and partnership with both. Here we're really identifying what kind of spaces you might want to put into a contemporary architecture and interior design school, and where they could fit in this project. Suggesting a prototype lab workshop at where the current interior design lab is. The design labs could stay on level 3 with some other teaching areas and multi-space. You can see all the titles there. Level 7 is really a big slab of research. So, following from the objectives there, we're indicating the spaces need to be changed to be more flexible, able to accommodate different types of teaching. That could be what a studio is like. It could be maybe a level 3 studio, suggesting smaller collaboration spaces or meeting rooms that would be adjunct to the design lab. Be a store to put all the furniture in if you want to clear it out and have a full pin-up. We definitely need to address the need for technological advancement, collaboration. We've seen these types of classrooms popping up all over campus. Informal learning is a big part of where contemporary teaching spaces are headed, and they seem to support collaboration in its forms. Building 201 lends itself well to informal learning spaces. Regarding industry engagement, the pin-up space that we talked about, which connects to the entry lobby, I guess, at the level 2 south, would be a space where you could have an event, multi-purpose space at the eastern end equally. So we weren't providing another lecture theatre as such. The thought was the building didn't need a dedicated lecture theatre, but these two spaces would be able to hold the types of events that school building environment would like to hold. Research, this is actually number 7. That's the kind of view, the sound connection. Keeping it really quite flexible, so there would be, this would be post-grad students as well as staff, to be determined really, leaving the space as open as it can be in order to be as flexible as it can be. The central cantilever there, then the competition space at the top of the list. Objective for workplace innovation really calls for open plan and providing an environment where staff can collaborate freely, yet have enough space to have privacy and so forth as needed. Our scheme managed to, as Daniel was saying, accommodate all the staff that we currently know are needed in the building on one level. So that would then become like a secure level, which would be housing all different departments. So this was an indication of how you might start grouping the different departments. Yet still have enough areas for private and collaboration, small meetings. The last objective, which kind of grouped together heritage, sustainability, services and compliance upgrades. We've talked about that. So this was a really big part of our scope. The building is very much at the end of its life in terms of servicing, and it does not meet current standards for fire safety and accessibility for all. So the proposal needed to address those. We managed to do that by providing a new lift, which would be in that central northwest open bay that we've created that could service every level in the building, which allowed us to relegate the existing lift really for services and minor uses, and remove all the ramps and so forth that got put in to make that work. The central stairs are also treated as fire stairs. In this case, they do need to be closed for smoke. They're not fire isolated stairs, but they are smoke stairs. This diagram shows the key issues for fire safety and compliance. So the two end stair rails become the fire isolated exits. Also increased in height to service level 7, which they don't currently go to. The central stair level 2, the smoke stair, level 6 and 7 would need to be glazed at the void to create another compartment. The building as it is needs to be reduced in size of compartment to comply with in the compliance and servicing. The energy of the building was looked at. We cannot increase demand on the building without needing to do very major works, infrastructure works. So one of the key things was to try and reduce some of the load, and we did manage to do that. There would be some savings in how you time managed the electrical service. And although it's not a huge reduction, there's also a lot more in the building that is using the service. So that has worked out well for us. Services, summarising those points, there's just a lot of infrastructure work with submains, cabling, IT cables. We would put new lighting throughout the building, new security, new air conditioning. There was some effort in trying to reduce the amount of air conditioning. We used a thermal maze, which is shown there, indicatively number 6, and a system called evaporative pre-cooling, which basically is cooling the air as it's coming into the building to reduce the start point where the air conditioning starts. Opening up the building more with the natural ventilation, it increased the amount of louvers and automated them, and sort of do you want to look through it? We have some plans. So we have some diagrams of the proposal in plan section. If you look in section here, we've tried to consolidate areas. At the moment, one of the things with Building 201 is that there are spaces for different functions just spread throughout the building, and we have tried to put some logic to that. So we've tried to stack up the building, which you can see in that diagram.
So we looked at reconfiguring most of the planning throughout the building. Level 1, obviously, well, not obviously, but it used to be a more of a lab or a workshop, and that space had since been infilled. It was a double void or double space, double height space. So given that it's located at ground, easily accessed by vehicles, etc., we thought that we would introduce a prototyping lab or some sort of workshop with the ability, for equipment to be located there for model making and all sorts of things, which currently the building doesn't have, but you have to go down to the School of Design in order to use their facilities. So we would propose either relocating or introducing new facilities at level 1, and then those kind of areas in grey just become service and storage areas, plant rooms, etc. It also involves significant or some changes to access to that area. There's stairs that we think there's existing stairs here that we delete and extend that stair down. At the moment you go to level 1 and cross over and then go down. You got to kind of duck to get in to the interior design studio. So we would just take those stairs down in order to achieve fire compliance. Level 2, that this, as Jan was talking about, the thermal maze would be located in this undercroft area. I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it's an interesting space. It has no floor in it, it's kind of all sand and it's full of junk. There's mechanical equipment in there. So we would try to use this space for plant equipment and then introduce the thermal maze. This level 2 becomes the prominent entry into the building, and so we clear out all of that and you know, transform it into a space that is usable, perhaps with pin-up and that sort of stuff, and extend that past the stairs. So currently there's a set of stairs that go up to level 3, then you cross over the blue carpet level and you go all the way up. So we take those stairs down to level 2, get rid of these stairs, introduce a lift there, and extend the gallery out past to the line of the canopy. Level 2 would become completely reconfigured into basically studios. So we open up as much as possible the central corridor, that void space on level 3. There varies, and I think it's always been that way, where the travel agency and all these kind of admin facilities kind of project forward of that void. So we try to clean that up and have a kind of one long corridor that was open to the space. The multi-purpose areas are not necessarily a lecture theatre, but a space that would be kind of less formal and capable of maybe seating or housing a lot of people. We put a cafe here and open up this part of the building to that Corso. And again, more studios and this space here then becomes kind of more informal learning, student central, etc. And that's the void above the gallery and the reception. So admin would basically move into there. Is there anything else? And maybe a little bit of retail in the point. You know, equipment for model making, books, paper, whatever.
Toilets obviously have to be upgraded and increased in number.
Exciting. More studios on level 4. The difficulty with this building is that not only is it separated by that central corridor, but once you get past level 3, none of the levels align. So you've got this space here, which you've probably never been into, but it's full of equipment and archives and all sorts of shit. And it has very low headroom, so you kind of have to duck to get through there. So it's just not a usable space. We can't turn it into anything, so we just leave it as planned. And again, you cross the other side of the void. This is the double volume over those studios. So we keep all that intact. So you get, as you do now, kind of these beautiful spaces with high ceilings. And level 5, again, we try to transform that to address the corridor or that void, open up the space so that you can not only plan the space kind of in plan, but have connection through spaces visually in I guess, section as well. So all that space just becomes studios, and then this is level 6 becomes the staff space. What we thought was important is that although the staff are kind of working in more open rather than closed offices, that they've still got some security. So we created this kind of central space up through the central stairs in connection to the lift, where students and staff could meet and then perhaps move out into connected private rooms, etc., to have a chat. But students couldn't wander through, all the kind of staff offices, because obviously there may be some private information and all sorts of things in there that students don't need access. And then we'd introduce, proper facilities for the staff, breakout areas, kitchenettes, cafes, etc. And level 7, take these stairs all the way up to level 7 so that we can achieve fire compliance. And essentially this just becomes a big open space for against studios or research facilities, and this being the big gesture of the building, apart from the excavation at level 2, is this cantilever at level 7, which creates what the intent is to create a prominent entry, I guess reconfigured to the south side, because we believe that's where greater access will come from currently and